Have you ever felt like there's an invisible weight pressing down on your chest, slowly draining your energy, stealing your peace, and leaving you exhausted without even realizing why? That weight isn't just stress or a bad day, it's the hidden poison of toxic people in your life. They don't always shout or attack openly. Sometimes their toxicity is subtle, sneaky, slipping into your mind and heart in ways that chip away at your happiness. Maybe it's a constant critic who never sees your worth, a friend who always takes but never gives, or someone whose words leave you doubting yourself long after the conversation ends. This silent burden can make even the simplest moments feel heavy, and if you've been carrying it, you already know how exhausting it is. But what if I told you that recognizing this invisible weight is the most powerful first step you can take toward freedom? That lifting this burden is possible, and your life can be different, lighter, freer, full of hope and strength? This is not just a dream. It's a promise waiting for you to claim. You deserve to live without this constant drain on your spirit. You deserve to wake up feeling energized, not depleted. The truth is, toxic people don't define you. They only have power over you if you let them. That power can be taken back. When you start to see toxicity for what it really is, something you can identify, confront, and separate yourself from, you open the door to reclaiming your energy and joy. Imagine the relief of no longer feeling trapped, the freedom to breathe deeply again, and the courage to say, enough is enough. This is the emotional reward waiting for you, and it's the reason why staying with this message matters. Because every moment you spend learning how to deal with toxicity is a moment invested in your future peace, strength, and happiness. It's natural to feel conflicted about toxic people. Maybe they are family, longtime friends, or coworkers. Walking away feels impossible, and staying feels unbearable. That tension is real. But the first breakthrough happens when you stop ignoring the pain and start naming it. When you acknowledge the damage toxicity causes, you give yourself permission to protect your heart. This is not about anger or revenge. It's about self-respect and survival. Toxicity chips away at your confidence and joy little by little, often disguised as concern, care, or normal behavior. But beneath those masks lies a pattern of harm that can keep you stuck in cycles of doubt, fear, and exhaustion. By facing this truth, you begin to reclaim your life. This video will guide you through 8 clever, deeply effective ways to deal with toxic people. Not by fighting fire with fire, but by building strength, setting boundaries, and transforming pain into power. Each step is designed to lift the invisible weight off your shoulders, helping you move from feeling trapped to feeling free. So stay with this journey, because by the end, you will be ready to stand tall, protect your peace, and create the life you truly deserve. One where toxic voices no longer drown out your light. The freedom you seek starts now, with this very moment of awareness. Toxicity isn't always easy to recognize. It hides behind smiles, sweet words, and familiar faces. It's not just about blatant cruelty or obvious abuse. It often appears as subtle patterns. Small digs disguised as jokes, constant criticism masked as concern, or relentless neediness disguised as love. Understanding what toxicity truly means is a critical step in breaking free, because it helps you stop blaming yourself or doubting your instincts. You might have been told you're too sensitive or overreacting, but that's far from the truth. Toxicity is a real force, rooted in behaviors designed to control, manipulate, and drain your energy. When you realize that these actions are not your fault, you reclaim your power. This clarity allows you to view toxic people not as the center of your universe, but as sources of harm that you can choose to address or remove. It's important to know that toxic behavior often comes from deep wounds in others, but their pain does not excuse the damage they cause you. Recognizing this balance between empathy and self-protection is empowering. It means you can care without being crushed, acknowledge their struggles without sacrificing your own well-being. Toxicity thrives in confusion and silence, so naming it strips away its power. You start to see toxic interactions as patterns, not personal failures. This awareness sparks a profound shift inside. No longer are you a victim trapped in someone else's storm. Instead, you become the calm eye of that storm, grounded in truth and ready to act with intention. Your mind and body respond to toxicity in ways you might not fully realize. Anxiety, self-doubt, sleepless nights, and even physical pain can all be signs that toxicity is taking a toll. This is not weakness. It's a clear signal from your inner self begging for protection. When you understand these signals, you learn to honor your feelings as valid warnings. This respect for your inner voice is a radical act of self-love. It creates a foundation from which you can build boundaries and resilience. The moment you start listening deeply to yourself, you ignite the courage to change your reality. To hold space for this truth requires bravery, but it is the kind of bravery that leads to freedom. Toxic people often make you question your worth, but understanding toxicity teaches you the opposite. Your worth is undeniable. Their attempts to control or diminish you lose their grip because you now recognize their behavior as unhealthy, not a reflection of who you are. This understanding doesn't just protect you, it fuels your transformation. It awakens a fierce determination to protect your peace and reclaim your energy. The mental clarity that comes with this knowledge is like a light cutting through fog, revealing a path forward where you lead, not follow. This is why you must stay connected to this journey. Each insight is a brick in the foundation of your new life, a life where toxic influences no longer define your emotions or decisions. When you grasp what toxicity really is, you stop reacting with fear or confusion and start responding with clarity and strength. This knowledge prepares you to take the next crucial steps towards setting boundaries, practicing detachment, and reclaiming your narrative. Every moment spent in this understanding deepens your resolve, bringing you closer to the peace and power you deserve. The invisible weight begins to lift as your eyes open wider and your heart grows stronger. You are not alone and you are not powerless. You are ready to choose yourself. When you remain silent in the face of toxicity, something powerful happens, and it's not the relief you hope for. Silence is often mistaken for peace, but it can be the invisible chain that binds you tighter to pain and confusion. When you refuse to acknowledge the harm or confront it, toxic behavior gains strength. It thrives in the gaps where boundaries should be, feeding on your hesitation and fear. This silence creates a space where self-doubt grows and your confidence shrinks. The longer you stay quiet, the more you internalize toxic messages, believing them to be true reflections of who you are. But silence doesn't protect you, it steals your power and deepens the wounds you carry. You may think avoiding conflict is the safest choice, but it comes at a high cost. The cost is your emotional freedom, your self-worth, and sometimes even your health. Toxicity left unchecked seeps into every part of your life, clouding your thoughts, draining your energy, and making joy feel distant. You start second-guessing yourself, replaying conversations, and wondering if you are to blame. This mental exhaustion is a heavy price to pay for silence. But here's the truth you need to hear. Your voice matters. Your feelings matter. And breaking the silence is the most courageous act you can take for yourself. When you decide to no longer stay silent, you open the door to transformation. It's not about loud confrontations or dramatic showdowns. It's about reclaiming your right to be heard, respected, and valued. Saying no to toxic behavior means choosing peace over chaos. It means protecting your mental and emotional space so you can thrive. The moment you speak up, you reclaim control. You tell yourself and the world that your well-being is non-negotiable. This simple act of standing up for yourself can shift the entire dynamic. You are no longer a passive participant in toxicity. You become an active defender of your own peace. The power to break silence also comes with clarity. You begin to see toxic relationships for what they are, harmful patterns that do not deserve your energy. This clarity helps you decide which battles are worth fighting and which toxic voices you must distance yourself from completely. You create space for healing by choosing where to invest your time and emotions. When you stop hiding your pain and start naming it, you release its hold. You affirm that your feelings are real and valid, and you demand better treatment. This is not arrogance, it's self-respect, and it is the foundation for lasting change. There is profound freedom in breaking the silence because it aligns you with your true self. Toxicity feeds on your doubts and fears, but when you find the courage to speak up, you reconnect with your inner strength. This strength isn't loud or aggressive, it's steady, unwavering, and deeply rooted in love for yourself. Breaking the silence awakens a new chapter where you lead with honesty and self-compassion. It creates a ripple effect that changes not just your experience, but the energy around you. You begin to attract respect, positivity, and genuine connection, replacing what was lost to toxicity. Choosing to break your silence is not just about confronting others, it's about committing to yourself. It's the moment you choose to honor your peace over fear, your growth over stagnation, and your freedom over control. The journey ahead may be challenging, but every step forward brings you closer to the life you deserve, one where toxicity no longer dims your light or steals your breath. This is your call to action. No more silence, no more compromise. You are worthy of peace, and your voice is your first step toward reclaiming it. Setting boundaries is one of the most courageous acts you can take in the face of toxicity. It is not about building walls to shut people out, but about creating a clear space where your mind, heart, and soul can breathe freely. Boundaries are not punishments. They are declarations of self-respect and protection. When you set a boundary, you say, "This is what I will accept and this is what I will not." It might feel uncomfortable at first because it challenges the patterns that have kept you stuck. But that discomfort is a sign of growth, a signal that you are stepping into your power. Boundaries are not just rules for others. They are commitments to yourself. They teach you to honor your needs and emotions even when it feels difficult. Many people hesitate to set boundaries because they fear rejection, conflict, or being seen as difficult. But staying in toxic dynamics only deepens pain and confusion. The fear of standing up for yourself often pales in comparison to the cost of remaining trapped. When you begin to practice boundaries, you reclaim control over your emotional space. You choose how much energy you give, when you say yes or no, and what you allow to affect you. This is a radical shift from being at the mercy of others' moods and demands. Boundaries create clarity, not just for you, but for the people around you. They reveal how you want to be treated, and they make it harder for toxic behavior to continue unchecked. Psychologically, boundaries help you protect your identity and self-worth. Toxic people often try to blur your lines, making you question your feelings and values. Without firm boundaries, it becomes easy to lose sight of who you are and what you deserve. When you define your limits, you create a mental shield that keeps negativity from invading your inner world. This shield is not a barrier to connection. It is a foundation for healthier relationships. People who respect you will respect your boundaries, and those who don't reveal themselves clearly. This clarity frees you from confusion and doubt, allowing you to invest your energy where it truly belongs. Setting boundaries also builds resilience over time. Each boundary you uphold strengthens your sense of self and your ability to navigate difficult situations with confidence. It teaches your mind and heart that your needs matter just as much as anyone else's. This is essential for healing from toxicity because it shifts the dynamic from victimhood to empowerment. The more you practice, the easier it becomes to recognize when your boundaries are crossed and to respond without fear or guilt. This practice rewires your emotional responses, making peace and self-respect your default state rather than anxiety or self-doubt. The journey to set boundaries is deeply personal and transformative. It requires patience, courage, and kindness toward yourself. You may need to say no more often, speak up when something doesn't feel right, or walk away from relationships that don't honor your limits. Every step you take is an act of reclaiming your life and your peace. Remember, you are worthy of relationships that uplift and respect you. Boundaries are the bridge from surviving toxicity to thriving in your true power. By choosing to set them, you are choosing yourself, and that choice changes everything. Your peace begins here with the courage to protect it. Toxic people have a way of pushing buttons you didn't even realize were vulnerable. They tap into your deepest fears, insecurities, and doubts, often without you fully noticing. These emotional triggers are not weaknesses. They are signals, red flags, waving to alert you that something inside needs attention. Understanding your triggers is not about blaming yourself. It is about gaining insight into how your mind and heart respond to toxic behavior. When you become aware of these triggers, you step out of autopilot and into conscious control. This awareness gives you the power to choose your response instead of reacting in ways that keep you stuck. Your triggers might be feelings of rejection, fear of abandonment, guilt, or the need to be liked. Toxic people know these vulnerabilities, and they use them to manipulate and control. But when you recognize these patterns, you take away their power. It's like turning on a light in a dark room. You see clearly what was hidden before. This clarity helps you to pause, breathe, and respond with strength rather than react with pain. It shifts the dynamic from victimhood to empowerment, from confusion to clarity. You learn that feeling triggered is not a failure, it's an opportunity to practice compassion toward yourself and build emotional resilience. Facing your triggers requires honesty and courage. It means looking inward with kindness and acknowledging parts of yourself that have been hurt or neglected. This process deepens self-awareness and self-love, two vital components of healing from toxicity. When you nurture these parts of yourself, you build a stronger foundation to withstand toxic influences. You create an inner fortress where negativity cannot easily penetrate. This does not mean you become numb or detached. It means you develop emotional intelligence that protects your peace while allowing you to remain open and authentic. As you grow in this awareness, you begin to rewrite old patterns. You stop reacting to toxic behavior with anxiety, guilt, or anger. Instead, you respond with calm, clarity, and confidence. This transformation doesn't happen overnight, but every step forward rewires your brain and heart for healthier interactions. You reclaim your emotional balance and stop giving toxic people the control they once had. Your triggers become teachers guiding you toward boundaries, self-care, and courage. They become signals that remind you to pause, breathe, and choose peace over chaos. Recognizing your emotional triggers also deepens your connection with yourself. It reminds you that your feelings are valid and worthy of attention. You stop silencing your pain to please others or avoid conflict. Instead, you honor your inner world as sacred. This respect for your emotions fuels self-trust, which is essential for breaking free from toxic patterns. The more you listen to your inner voice, the stronger it becomes. This strength empowers you to protect your peace fiercely and to seek relationships that nourish your soul instead of depleting it. By understanding and managing your triggers, you take control of your emotional landscape. You transform from someone who is controlled by toxicity into someone who controls their response to it. This shift is the key to lasting freedom and healing. It awakens your true power, the power to choose peace, joy, and self-respect every day. Your journey toward this power begins with one simple act: becoming aware. From that awareness, everything else unfolds. You are ready to take that step. Detaching emotionally from toxic people is one of the most liberating steps you can take. It means creating a space inside yourself where their words and actions no longer define your worth or dictate your mood. Emotional detachment is not about shutting down or becoming cold. It's about protecting your heart by choosing not to absorb the negativity that tries to invade it. When you detach, you reclaim control over your feelings and energy. You refuse to let someone else's toxicity become your internal struggle. This shift is not just freeing, it's transformative, opening the door to peace and clarity that was previously blocked by constant emotional turmoil. Many struggle with detachment because it feels like abandonment or rejection, especially if the toxic person is close. But emotional detachment is not about cutting ties immediately or harshly. It's about creating healthy distance within yourself so that you can see the relationship clearly. This clarity allows you to evaluate what is truly good for you and what drains your soul. Detachment is a protective shield. It guards your emotional well-being without necessarily severing connections that may still hold value. It creates room for you to breathe, think, and heal without the constant interference of toxic energy. When you practice emotional detachment, you begin to separate your identity from the toxic person's behavior. You no longer see yourself through the lens of their criticism or manipulation. Their negativity becomes just noise, loud and persistent, but ultimately powerless over your sense of self. This mental separation strengthens your emotional resilience and stops the cycle of self-doubt and pain. Detachment also allows you to respond rather than react, making decisions based on what's best for your well-being rather than being driven by fear, anger, or confusion. You gain the freedom to choose your response consciously, which is a profound form of empowerment. This process demands patience and self-compassion because detaching emotionally can feel uncomfortable at first. It challenges long-held beliefs about loyalty, love, and connection. You might wrestle with guilt or worry about how others perceive you. But remember, your primary responsibility is to yourself, your peace, your health, your growth. Emotional detachment is a form of self-care, a necessary boundary that protects you from harm while nurturing your inner strength. The discomfort is temporary, the freedom it brings is lasting. As you deepen your practice of detachment, you create space for healing and growth. Your emotional energy shifts from being consumed by others' toxicity to being invested in yourself, your dreams, your values, your happiness. This shift transforms your relationships, not by forcing change on others, but by changing how you engage with them. You become less reactive, more centered, and better able to protect your boundaries. Toxic patterns lose their grip because you are no longer feeding them with your emotional reactions. Instead, you stand firm, grounded in the truth of your worth. Choosing emotional detachment is choosing freedom. It's reclaiming your power to protect your heart and mind from harm. It's the quiet but powerful act of saying, I deserve peace, even when chaos surrounds you. This choice transforms not just how you relate to toxic people, but how you relate to yourself. It marks a turning point where your well-being becomes the priority and your inner light shines brighter than ever before. You are stronger than the toxicity that tries to hold you down, and detachment is the key that unlocks your path to peace. Healing from toxic relationships requires more than just recognizing harm and setting boundaries. It demands a commitment to deep self-care that nurtures your mind, body, and spirit. Self-care is often misunderstood as indulgence or luxury, but true self-care is a radical act of preservation and growth. It is the deliberate practice of honoring yourself, your needs, and your healing process. When toxicity has drained your energy and chipped away at your confidence, self-care becomes the essential fuel that restores your strength and rebuilds your foundation. Without it, you risk falling back into old patterns or losing sight of your worth entirely. Taking care of yourself in the face of toxicity means learning to listen deeply to your body and emotions. Your mind might tell you to push through exhaustion, doubt, or pain, but your body knows the truth. It shows you when you're overwhelmed, stressed, or depleted through tension, fatigue, or even illness. Honoring these signals with rest, nourishment, and gentle kindness is not selfish, it's survival. Self-care creates a safe space inside where healing can take root. It reminds you that you deserve peace, comfort, and compassion, even when the outside world feels chaotic or cruel. When you choose to care for yourself, you make a silent but powerful declaration. Your well-being is a priority, and you will protect it fiercely. Self-care also strengthens your emotional resilience. It teaches you to recharge after toxic encounters, so their impact diminishes over time. This can be as simple as moments of quiet reflection, journaling your feelings, or engaging in activities that bring you genuine joy and relaxation. These acts rebuild your emotional reserves and fortify your spirit against negativity. They remind you that your happiness does not depend on others' approval or behavior, but on your own commitment to nurture yourself. With consistent self-care, you reclaim control over your emotional state, making it harder for toxicity to break you down. Another crucial aspect of self-care is learning to surround yourself with positivity that uplifts rather than drains. This means intentionally seeking relationships and environments that support your growth, respect your boundaries, and celebrate your worth. Healing from toxicity involves replacing what was lost with what truly nourishes you. It's not about perfection or never facing challenges. It's about choosing to invest your time and energy where it is honored and returned. This creates a cycle of positivity that builds momentum, making it easier to maintain your boundaries and emotional detachment when needed. Remember, self-care is not a one-time fix, but a lifelong practice that evolves with you. It requires patience and grace, especially when old wounds resurface or toxic patterns try to pull you back. Each act of self-care is a victory, a step toward reclaiming your power and rewriting your story. This commitment to yourself transforms your relationship with toxicity from one of helplessness to one of strength and mastery. When you prioritize your well-being, you create an unshakable foundation that no toxic influence can erode. You prove to yourself that you are worthy of love, respect, and peace, and nothing will ever change that truth. Your healing begins here, in the sacred space of self-care. Growth requires a willingness to change the way you respond to toxic people, shifting from reacting out of pain to acting with intentional strength. This shift is not about ignoring your feelings or pretending toxicity doesn't affect you. It's about choosing how you let it shape your inner world. When you stop giving your energy to destructive patterns, you free yourself to build healthier habits and a stronger mindset. This transformation begins the moment you decide that you are no longer a passive recipient of others' toxicity, but an active architect of your own peace. Changing your responses rewires your brain, turning automatic reactions into deliberate choices rooted in self-respect and clarity. This process demands self-awareness, because without it, old habits can keep pulling you back into familiar cycles of hurt and confusion. You must become a keen observer of your emotions and behaviors, recognizing when you feel triggered, overwhelmed, or drained. This recognition is powerful because it gives you a moment to pause and choose a different path. Instead of reacting with anger, fear, or silence, you learn to respond with calmness, confidence, and boundaries. Each conscious choice rewires your neural pathways, making these healthier responses stronger and more natural over time. This is how transformation becomes permanent, not through willpower alone, but through rewiring your emotional landscape. The courage to change your response also breaks the invisible chains that toxic people use to control you. When you refuse to engage in their games of manipulation, drama, or guilt, you disarm their power over you. This refusal does not mean you deny your feelings or ignore problems. It means you protect your energy and refuse to be pulled into chaos. You gain the freedom to choose which battles are worth your attention and which are not. This clarity is empowering because it puts you back in the driver's seat of your emotional well-being. You no longer react out of desperation or confusion. You respond with purpose and self-respect. Changing your response also deepens your emotional resilience. Toxic encounters become less damaging because you are equipped with new tools to protect your peace. You recognize that your worth is not defined by others' negativity, and you stop absorbing their poison. This shift reduces anxiety, anger, and self-doubt, replacing them with calmness, strength, and self-trust. You become more patient with yourself and others, understanding that true change takes time and consistent effort. This patience is a form of self-love that fuels ongoing growth and healing. Ultimately, transforming your response to toxicity is an act of reclaiming your life. It marks the moment you stop being a victim and start being a warrior for your own peace. This shift radiates outward, changing how you interact with the world and who you attract into your life. When you respond from strength rather than reaction, you draw in respect, kindness, and genuine connection. You create a new narrative where toxicity no longer controls your story. This transformation is not just possible, it is your birthright. By choosing to change how you respond, you claim the freedom and peace that have always belonged to you. Choosing forgiveness in the face of toxicity is a profound act of liberation, not for those who hurt you, but for yourself. Forgiveness does not mean excusing harmful behavior or allowing others to continue causing pain. It is not about forgetting what happened or pretending the wounds don't exist. Instead, forgiveness is the conscious decision to release the heavy burden of resentment, anger, and bitterness that weighs down your heart. Carrying grudges and pain keeps you tethered to toxicity, chaining your energy to past harm. When you forgive, you untangle those chains and reclaim your freedom. This freedom opens the door to peace, clarity, and emotional healing that no amount of anger can provide. Forgiveness is an inward journey, a gift you give yourself to break free from the grip of pain. It allows you to stop reliving toxic moments over and over in your mind, which drains your strength and clouds your vision for a brighter future. Holding on to bitterness consumes mental space and emotional energy that could be used to rebuild, grow, and thrive. By choosing forgiveness, you shift your focus from what was lost to what can be gained. You create room for hope, compassion, and self-love to flourish. Forgiveness is not weakness, it is a radical form of strength that prioritizes your well-being above the weight of past hurt. This process requires patience and deep self-compassion because forgiveness cannot be rushed or forced. It unfolds gradually as you work through your feelings and reclaim your power. You may find that forgiving someone does not immediately erase your pain or restore trust. Instead, it gently loosens the grip that toxic memories have on you, allowing healing to begin. Forgiveness is about freeing yourself from emotional imprisonment, not about making peace with those who caused harm. It is a declaration that your peace is more important than your pain. Forgiveness also transforms how you see yourself. When you release bitterness, you open space to reconnect with your true worth and dignity. You affirm that you deserve peace regardless of what others have done. This affirmation builds resilience, helping you withstand future challenges with greater grace and strength. Forgiveness rewires your emotional landscape by replacing resentment with compassion. Compassion not necessarily for others, but for yourself and the complex journey you are on. This shift softens the hardness that toxicity can create and invites healing to grow. Ultimately, forgiveness is a choice that empowers you to break free from toxicity's hold. It is the path toward reclaiming your life, your joy, and your inner peace. By embracing forgiveness, you stop carrying wounds as chains and start carrying them as lessons. Lessons that remind you how strong, courageous, and worthy you are. This choice does not erase the past, but it transforms your relationship with it. Forgiveness is your key to emotional freedom, a gift you deserve to give yourself so you can step fully into the life of peace and empowerment waiting on the other side. Saying no is one of the most powerful acts of self-respect you can practice, especially when dealing with toxic people. It is not merely a word. It is a boundary, a declaration, and a shield that protects your energy and preserves your peace. Toxic individuals often push limits, demand your time, and drain your resources, leaving you exhausted and overwhelmed. Learning to say no is an essential skill that reclaims your power and sends a clear message. Your needs matter, and you will not sacrifice your well-being to accommodate someone else's toxicity. Saying no is a radical act of courage that says, I choose myself. Many struggle to say no because they fear conflict, rejection, or disappointing others. But when you suppress your boundaries to please toxic people, you lose yourself in the process. Your energy diminishes, your self-worth erodes, and your emotional health suffers. Saying no is not about being rude or unkind. It is about honoring your limits and refusing to be exploited. It is a form of self-care that creates a safe container where your well-being can thrive. When you say no, you protect your mental space, reduce stress, and build resilience against manipulation. The power of no comes from clarity about your values and priorities. When you know what truly matters to you, your peace, your goals, your happiness, you become less susceptible to toxic demands. Saying no becomes easier because it aligns with a deeper truth. Your life is yours to live on your terms. This clarity acts like a compass, guiding you to make choices that nourish your soul instead of depleting it. Each no you say strengthens your confidence and sharpens your ability to protect your boundaries in the future. Over time, saying no becomes a habit that empowers you to live authentically and fearlessly. Saying no also changes the dynamic with toxic people. When you set firm boundaries, toxic behavior often loses its impact. Manipulation and control rely on your willingness to engage, but a clear no cuts through those tactics like a shield. You no longer feed toxic patterns with your energy or attention. This shift can be uncomfortable at first, as toxic individuals may resist or escalate to regain control. But your consistent no is a declaration that you will no longer tolerate harm. It forces the toxic person to confront their behavior or step back, creating space for your healing. Learning to say no takes practice and self-compassion. It may feel awkward or guilt-inducing at first, especially if you are used to putting others first. But each no you say is a victory, a reclaiming of your voice and your right to choose. Remember, saying no is not about being selfish. It is about being wise and courageous enough to protect your energy. Your well-being depends on it. By mastering the art of no, you build a fortress around your peace and open the door to healthier, more respectful relationships. Saying no is your power in action. Use it unapologetically. Choosing your circle wisely is one of the most transformative decisions you can make when dealing with toxic people. The company you keep has a profound impact on your mindset, energy, and emotional health. Toxic relationships drain your strength, cloud your judgment, and erode your sense of self. On the other hand, surrounding yourself with supportive, understanding, and uplifting people acts as a powerful antidote to toxicity. It fuels your growth, reinforces your boundaries, and reminds you of your worth. The people around you either build you up or break you down, and choosing them with intention is an act of self-love and protection. Recognizing the importance of your social environment means becoming fiercely selective about who you allow into your inner world. This is not about perfection or cutting people off impulsively. It's about honoring your needs and values. Toxic individuals often disguise themselves as friends, family, or colleagues, making it hard to see their true impact at first. But as you grow in self-awareness and strength, you begin to notice who lifts your spirit and who drains it. You become sensitive to energy that feels heavy, manipulative, or disrespectful. Trusting your instincts here is crucial. They are signals guiding you toward healthier connections and away from harm. Choosing your circle wisely also means investing in relationships that nurture mutual respect and kindness. These relationships provide a safe space where you can be authentic without fear of judgment or manipulation. They encourage your growth rather than stifle it. When you surround yourself with people who celebrate your successes, support your dreams, and respect your boundaries, you create a network of strength. This network acts as a buffer against toxicity, reminding you that you are not alone and that positive connection is possible. It empowers you to stand firm in your choices and maintain your peace. The power of a supportive circle extends beyond emotional comfort. It shapes how you see yourself and the world. Positive relationships reinforce your self-worth and boost your confidence. They model healthy communication, empathy, and respect, helping you heal wounds left by toxic encounters. This positive reinforcement rewires your brain to expect better treatment and to set higher standards for your relationships. It strengthens your resilience, making you less vulnerable to future toxicity. In this way, choosing your circle is not just about protection, it's about cultivating a foundation for lasting transformation. Building this circle requires courage and sometimes difficult decisions. It means saying goodbye to those who no longer serve your well-being, even if it feels painful or lonely at first. But this discomfort is temporary. The space you create invites new, healthier connections that align with your values and support your growth. It's a necessary step to reclaim your power and create a life where peace and positivity are the norm. Choosing your circle wisely is a profound act of self-care and a declaration that your emotional health is non-negotiable. This choice will change everything. Your mental space is sacred, and guarding it fiercely is essential when confronting toxicity. Toxic people invade not only your time and energy, but also your thoughts, planting seeds of doubt, fear, and confusion. Left unchecked, these intrusions can take root and grow, distorting your reality and stealing your peace. Protecting your mind from this invasion is not a luxury, it is a necessity for survival and growth. It means creating boundaries within your own thoughts, refusing to let toxic words or actions define your self-worth or cloud your vision. Your mental space is your sanctuary, and you must defend it with unwavering determination. When toxic influences seep into your mind, they activate negative self-talk and irrational fears that sabotage your confidence and resilience. You might find yourself replaying harmful conversations, doubting your instincts, or feeling undeserving of happiness. These mental patterns are the battleground where toxicity does its deepest damage. Recognizing these internal attacks is the first step toward reclaiming control. Awareness creates a space between you and the toxic influence, allowing you to challenge and change destructive thoughts instead of surrendering to them. This shift is empowering. It rewires your brain to seek truth, compassion, and strength rather than pain and limitation. Protecting your mental space also means choosing where to focus your attention and what to feed your mind. Toxic people often use drama, gossip, and manipulation to hijack your thoughts, keeping you stuck in cycles of anxiety and anger. By consciously redirecting your focus toward positive, empowering ideas, you starve toxicity of its fuel. This practice builds mental resilience and clarity. It reminds you that you have the power to choose what occupies your mind, regardless of external chaos. Cultivating habits like mindfulness, gratitude, or affirmations can reinforce this choice, grounding you in peace even when toxicity surrounds you. Another crucial part of defending your mental space is learning to disengage emotionally from toxic encounters. Emotional detachment is not about coldness or indifference, it is about maintaining balance and perspective. When you refuse to be pulled into emotional turbulence, you protect your mind from spiraling into negativity. This calm detachment allows you to respond with clarity and strength, rather than reaction and confusion. It is a skill that develops with practice, but becomes a cornerstone of inner peace and empowerment. Through this practice, your mental space becomes a fortress, resilient to external attacks. Ultimately, protecting your mental space is an act of radical self-respect. It is declaring that your inner world matters just as much as the outer one. When you guard your mind, you protect your dreams, your happiness, and your potential. Toxic people lose their power when they cannot invade this sacred space. This defense is not passive. It is an active daily commitment to your well-being and growth. By fiercely protecting your mental space, you create a foundation where peace can flourish and your true self can shine, unshaken by toxicity's storm. This is the power you hold within, waiting to be claimed. Healing is not a destination. It is a daily, deliberate act of reclaiming your power from the grip of toxicity. When toxic people have influenced your life, wounds form, some visible, others hidden deep within. These wounds affect how you see yourself, how you trust, and how you engage with the world. Healing means facing those wounds with courage, refusing to let pain define your future. It requires patience, tenderness, and the fierce determination to rebuild a self that is whole, strong, and unshaken. Healing is your rebellion against the damage toxicity tried to inflict. It is the quiet, powerful declaration that you will rise beyond what tried to break you. The process of healing demands you acknowledge the pain without letting it consume you. It's tempting to push hurt aside or deny its existence to avoid discomfort, but true healing begins when you give yourself permission to feel fully. Feeling your pain honestly allows it to release its hold. This act is not weakness, it is the bravest thing you can do. It shows deep respect for yourself and your journey. As you move through this process, you learn to observe your pain without judgment, understanding that it is part of your growth, not your identity. This awareness transforms suffering into strength and opens a path toward freedom. Healing also means rebuilding trust, not just in others, but crucially in yourself. Toxic experiences often shatter your belief in your intuition and your worth. Healing helps you reclaim that trust by teaching you to listen deeply to your inner voice again. Your instincts are your compass, guiding you toward safety, joy, and authenticity. When you honor this guidance, you empower yourself to make choices that protect your well-being and nurture your spirit. Rebuilding trust is a radical act of self-love and an essential step in transforming toxicity into a catalyst for growth. Forgiveness, boundaries, and self-compassion become pillars of your healing process. You learn to forgive not for others' sake, but to free your heart from heavy burdens. You rebuild boundaries that protect your sacred space, ensuring toxic influences cannot enter and harm you again. Most importantly, you cultivate self-compassion, the steady, nurturing kindness toward yourself that heals wounds and rebuilds confidence. This triad forms a powerful foundation that anchors your healing, helping you move from victimhood to victory, from pain to power. Healing from toxicity is not linear. It comes in waves of progress and setbacks. This reality is a testament to your humanity, not a sign of failure. Each step you take, no matter how small, moves you closer to freedom. Every moment you choose peace over resentment, clarity over confusion, growth over stagnation, you reinforce your power. Healing transforms scars into symbols of strength and survival. It prepares you to build a life where toxicity has no place, only light, resilience, and endless possibility. This journey is yours to claim, and within it lies the power to become unstoppable. Embracing your own worth is the foundation upon which every victory over toxicity is built. When toxic people attempt to diminish you, they feed on doubt and insecurity, trying to convince you that you are less than enough. But the truth is, your value is inherent and unshakable. Recognizing this truth ignites a powerful shift inside, a refusal to accept anything less than respect, kindness, and dignity. Embracing your worth is not an act of arrogance, it is an act of survival and liberation. It is the quiet, steady force that pushes you to walk away from toxicity, no matter how difficult, because you know you deserve better. When you truly believe in your worth, the toxic voices lose their grip. They become background noise, unable to penetrate the shield you build around your self-esteem. This belief becomes your anchor in storms of criticism, manipulation, and emotional abuse. It reminds you that no one has the right to dictate how you feel about yourself. Every time toxic words try to invade your mind, your sense of worth stands firm, shutting down those destructive narratives before they can take hold. This inner strength transforms your relationship with yourself and with others, shifting the balance of power back where it belongs, with you. Embracing your worth also means setting uncompromising standards for how you allow yourself to be treated. It demands that you refuse to tolerate disrespect, dishonesty, or neglect. These standards act as your personal code of honor, guiding your decisions and interactions. They help you recognize toxic behaviors quickly and make it easier to step away when necessary. When you uphold these standards, you no longer feel trapped by obligation, guilt, or fear. Instead, you act from a place of clarity and self-respect. This clarity becomes a beacon, attracting healthier relationships and repelling toxicity naturally. Understanding your worth fuels your courage to confront toxic people with confidence. It gives you the strength to speak your truth calmly and clearly, without fear of backlash or rejection. This courage is not about confrontation for its own sake, but about asserting your right to peace and respect. When you stand in your worth, your voice carries weight, and your boundaries are taken seriously. Toxic people may resist or try to undermine you, but your unwavering belief in yourself creates a fortress they cannot breach. This courage empowers you to take control of your life and reclaim your energy. Finally, embracing your worth is a daily practice, not a one-time realization. It requires ongoing self-awareness and kindness. You must nurture your confidence, celebrate your achievements, and forgive yourself when you falter. This commitment to honoring yourself creates a feedback loop of growth and resilience. The more you embrace your worth, the more you attract positivity, and the less room there is for toxicity. This cycle propels you forward, transforming your life into a reflection of the respect and love you give yourself. Embracing your worth is your most powerful act of resistance and your gateway to freedom. Standing firm in your boundaries is one of the most profound acts of self-respect and protection you can offer yourself when facing toxicity. Boundaries are not walls meant to isolate you, but fences that define where your peace begins and where harm ends. They tell the world, and most importantly yourself, that you refuse to accept anything that diminishes your worth or drains your energy. Setting and enforcing boundaries requires clarity about what you will and will not tolerate, and it demands the courage to hold to these limits even when challenged. This courage is the shield that preserves your emotional well-being against the persistent attempts of toxic individuals to invade your space. Boundaries give you control over your life. They allow you to decide who enters your mental and emotional world and on what terms. Without them, toxicity sneaks in unnoticed, eroding your confidence, exhausting your spirit, and blurring your sense of identity. But with boundaries firmly in place, toxic people lose their power to manipulate, guilt trip, or belittle you. Boundaries create a space where your values and needs are honored, reinforcing your strength and autonomy. When you practice this, you send a clear message: your well-being is not negotiable. This message is felt even if not spoken aloud, and it changes how others interact with you. Enforcing boundaries is not always easy. Toxic individuals often resist and push back, testing your limits to regain control. This resistance can trigger doubt and fear, tempting you to retreat or lower your standards. But yielding to these pressures only invites more toxicity. True empowerment lies in consistency. Each time you uphold a boundary, you strengthen your resolve and teach others how to treat you. This repeated action builds an invisible armor around your self-respect that grows harder to penetrate. Your boundaries become a beacon of your inner strength, signaling that you are no longer available to manipulation or abuse. Importantly, boundaries are not just about saying no to others, they are also about saying yes to yourself. They create space for self-care, personal growth, and healthy relationships. When you respect your limits, you protect your time, energy, and emotions for what truly matters. You reclaim moments to recharge, reflect, and reconnect with your purpose. This self-honoring approach fuels your resilience, making you less vulnerable to toxic influences and more aligned with your highest potential. Boundaries become a foundation from which you can thrive, rather than merely survive. Standing firm in your boundaries is a radical declaration that your peace, dignity, and happiness are sacred. It is a daily practice of honoring your truth and prioritizing your well-being above external pressures or toxic demands. When you embrace this practice, you transform not only your relationships, but your entire experience of life. Boundaries are not barriers, they are bridges to freedom and empowerment. They enable you to create a life where toxicity has no foothold, only respect, peace, and growth. This unwavering commitment to your boundaries is your strongest defense and your most powerful gift to yourself. Choosing peace over conflict is a transformative decision that reclaims your power from the chaos toxic people often try to create. Toxic relationships thrive on drama, tension, and emotional upheaval because these reactions feed their control. But when you commit to peace, you deny them the fuel they crave. Peace is not passive or weak. It is a fierce, deliberate act of self-preservation and wisdom. It requires you to rise above the noise, refusing to engage in battles that only drain your energy and cloud your clarity. Choosing peace means prioritizing your mental and emotional well-being above the urge to respond to provocation or defend yourself endlessly. When you anchor yourself in peace, you create a space of calm that even the most persistent toxicity struggles to penetrate. This calm is a powerful force that protects your inner world. It allows you to observe toxic behavior without being pulled into reactive patterns. Instead of responding with anger, frustration, or hurt, you respond with clarity and control. This does not mean ignoring harmful behavior, but rather choosing how much power you give it over you. Peace strengthens your ability to make conscious decisions about when to engage and when to step back. It becomes your shield, reducing the emotional damage toxic people can inflict. Choosing peace also rewires your brain and emotions.